the PS3 is better than a PS4 or PS5. Recent news that the PS3, PSP and PS Vita online stores are due to shut down in a few months has led me to make this video to get off my chest on why I think the PS3 was way ahead for its time and to this day provides a better user experience than a PS4 or even a PS5 in its current state. Let's get into it. PS3 was released in November of 2006 in Japan and North America, followed by March 2007 for the EU and Australian markets. The console will approach its 15th anniversary by the end of the year, and I'm going to tell you why I believe it's a better system than the PS4 will ever be. Let's start with the features. Now, the original fat PS3 was a really expensive system for its day and was packed with a ton of features. Let's take a look on the front of this sexy beast. On the front, you'll find 4 USB ports, SD card slots, power light to let you know it's on, off, reading a disc, or that it just died. Rest in peace, yellow light of death PS3s. And on the side of the USB ports, you can see a Wi-Fi indicator light and a hard disk drive light, which is, somewhat useful to say if it's connected via Wi-Fi or not. It's something that just was a thing of the past, of the mid-2000s. I believe the PSP had that. On the back, we see a Ethernet port, AV port, HDMI port, digital optical port, power cable port, as well as a handy cutoff switch on the back. Reminiscent of the early PS2, that PS2 had that. It was kind of useful to save power. I'd like to just note and point out that mine is an early model, and not all fat PS3s have the same ports. Make sure to do some research before going ahead and buying one. Now let's get into the most obvious point why the PS3 offers more than a PS4 or even PS5. Backwards compatibility. Put yourself at the end of 2006, by the way. This thing can play PS1 game, PS2 games. The European model, if I understand correctly, has an emulator for the PS2 and PS1 hardware, but it's my understanding that in the US markets, their early models actually had a PS2 built in, which made all PS2 games compatible flawlessly. So you will encounter some minor bugs with some types of games. For example, I know I have Scarface, and when I'm playing that game on the PS3, there can be some kind of lags during the cutscenes, but for the most games it works perfectly. I mean, this is early emulation, it wasn't perfect at the time, and for the time they did a really good job. As for the PS1 games, I've not encountered any issues. The cool thing about this is that you can enable a smoothing feature, so this works for both PS1 and PS2 games, a feature that basically, to people that use emulators, they have an access to a library of these sorts of features, but it's interesting that they adopted this in a console format. It basically smooths out the rough edges. Some early PS1 games, we know that some of the polygons and graphics can be, I don't like to use the term blurry, but that's what basically it looks like to the untrained eye. But the smoothing kind of irons out these rough edges of these older games. Online, and now this is probably my second favourite feature that the PS3 offers. Most people forget about it, unfortunately, and a lot of Xbox users never really caught onto this. I remember back in the day playing like Xbox 360 online, and I would have this conversation. Yeah, PS3, we don't pay for anything. They're like, really? Yeah, the PS3 offers free online. And I mean, this is as awesome as it sounds, but I'll be the first to admit that the service wasn't up to par as say Xbox Live, which is evident on the basis that you pay for Xbox Live, but nonetheless it was far from being bad. I mean, very, very usable. I have tons of memories of playing GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, FIFA, Black Ops, Little Big Planet, the first one, which had great community support in that game. Resident Evil 5. There's so many titles I played online, and it was the first online console experience I had, and I will never forget it, and it was really, really great. It's a shame that today we have pay a subscription, but that's a whole other debate I would like to get into maybe in another video. Wallpapers. Before anyone points out that the PS4 has this option, which was eventually added towards the end of its cycle via a system update, I can confirm that it's nowhere near as convenient as it is on PS3. Via the PS3's browser, you can save any image file and download it in the proposed resolution. And in the photo menu, you can edit and save the image as your background. However, on the PS4, the option to download the image is absent. Instead, you can screen save. So you have to fiddle around and make sure it's in the correct resolution and make sure there's no web browser tools in front of the picture. It's not as good. It's just not as ironed out, and it doesn't bring the same same results. File sizes. Nowadays games take up a ton of space, and an average game can take up to 50 gigabytes. And if you play a game like Warzone, well, you're most likely already out of space for your other games. You probably cannot fit your entire collection with the base hard drive, whether it's 500 gigabyte or 1 terabyte. I personally own over 100 physical PS3 copies. I've never run into this problem. I can just put the disc in and it will read the disc. There's no installing the application or waiting. No, generally it will play the game. There might be some small update prior, but it will. It's a much better experience than today, especially with someone with slow internet like myself. So the PS3 doesn't automatically require to download the game to the system unless it's a really big game. Like, there's a few exceptions, of course. The GTA games, GTA 4 and 5, you had to have a wait for about half hour to an hour for it to install. I think Devil May Cry 4, and there's many others, but I can't remember them from the top of my head. But we're still in a very reasonable amount of space taken, even with those examples given. Now, another feature that I absolutely love with the PS3 is the controller. Whether or not you prefer the PS4 or PS5 controller in terms of comfort or the features they offer, I have a PS5 and that controller has haptic feedback, which is, for me, a game changer when it's going to be used right. Put all that aside, I think all of that is irrelevant on the basis that the PS3 controller has an amazing battery life. You can get a whopping 25 hours out of a single charge, providing it's sort of a new controller, of course, because as you gradually charge and charge and charge, the battery will get weaker. But, I remember that when the PS4 came out, it would last for around 6 hours. Mine probably lasts around 4 now. Same with the PS5. It's pretty much the same as a PS4 controller, maybe a little bit better. So yeah, that is a really, really awesome feature. The simple controller, it's the classic PS3 controller, which is reminiscent of the PS1 and PS2 era. Very comfortable. I think that's just a great feature. It would be great with all the technology going into controllers nowadays. I don't think we'll ever see a controller that is capable to do 25 hours on a single charge. Now, another obscure feature that not a lot of people talk about is the DVD playback. So the PS3 was capable to read Blu-ray, CDs and DVDs. The Blu-ray being the big feature, because back in 2006 to get a Blu-ray player you'd probably be better off buying a PS3, which is what most people did. Same for the PS2. PS2 came out, DVD players were very expensive, so people bought a PS2 instead. This was the idea to put the Blu-ray technology into the PS3, and that's probably why a big reason why it was so expensive. But nonetheless, the DVD player in this thing is so awesome. It remembers where you last left off, basically. The PS4 can do that, but not quite in the terms of how the PS3 handles it. Even after you take the disc out after playing it and you go play some other games and you pop the same disc back in a week later, the PS3 will remember where you left off. It's just so handy. Like, if you're watching a series or something like that, you can't remember what episode you last left off on, well, it will remember. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for Blu-rays. Just for casual DVD viewing, this is a great feature. So I'm sure I've missed out on some other features the system offers, like MP3, MP4 playback, but I think you can see why I show so much love towards the PS3. It sure was a great console for its time that managed to outsell the 360, arguably one of the best console comebacks of all time. So that's all from me today. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time.